So I had this random thought about love one day and marriage and all of that stuff. And it brought me to this super tough question. Maybe not tough for you. I'll just ask you and you let me know what you think. But have you ever overlooked someone because they didn't fit your type before you knew how amazing they were or were not? And that brings me to another question. What if I told you that letting go of that idea, the idea of your type, could change your life and possibly your love story? Let's talk about it. Hey now, friends, it's me, Lola, creator of The Smoking Prophet, a life advice brand designed to build you spiritually, creatively, and socially. Today, we're touching on a topic that hits close to home: how focusing on heart over hype can open the door to love and marriage. And I'm talking from personal experience. If you've ever talked to anyone that's caught up in types, the surface level attraction, like nice smile, tone, body, tall, whatever and whatever, or someone that has said something like, I could never talk to someone I'm not attracted to, this episode is for you. I'm going to give you some ideas that help you see how letting go of rigid ideas about love can lead you to connection and possibly that love you've been craving. So let's get into it. I feel like many people miss out on meaningful relationships and love because they're stuck on quote unquote their type. And I get it. It's easy to focus on what catches your eye. I mean, that happens for all of us. That's natural. You know that saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's really true because you like what you like. But what I'm trying to say today is that attraction can grow when you focus on someone's heart and character instead of just their looks. At the end of the day, looks fade, beauty fades. At the end of the day, if you live long enough, you will see that what you look like coming in and what you look like going out is totally different. This is something that you know already. We know it already. And social media, it kind of reinforces that this surface level stuff is all we care about. With social media constantly feeding us images of perfection, perfect smiles, toned bodies, polished lives, top tier everything, all it does is reinforce that surface level stuff is what we care about. But is that something that's going to lead to genuine, lasting love and partnership? Maybe, but maybe not. I'm just here to challenge you to think. I want to share my story with you, how I ended up marrying someone who wasn't my type and why it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I met Dante, my husband, in an elevator. He was tall, and that's about all I noticed. It was not love at first sight. We exchanged polite smiles, if we smiled, and went on with our day. Now, after that, several months later, we came across each other again. This time, he noticed me during a vulnerable moment. There was a meeting, an event we went to, and he was there, I was there. I don't even think I had noticed he was there. There were two FBI agents talking to us about financial crimes. You may have heard me share this story before, and I can share it because it's true. I know some people share stories that they've made up, but this is a true story. Anyway, so we're at this event. At the end of the event, I'm just thanking the agents and our leaders for putting together the event. And I got emotional because I really, really connected with what was being discussed. And I started to tear up and I actually choked up. Yes, I cried in front of a room of so many people, my leaders, my peers, people that knew me, people that didn't know me. And I just ran out the door. It was terrible. Someone that knew me came behind me, and of course, other people checked on me. Are you okay? I'm so sorry. I didn't know that. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. But anyways, at that moment, Dante saw me and he was like, I'm interested. I want to know more about her. She seems interesting. Now, weeks after that, maybe even longer, Dante and I ended up walking right into each other. He had just been promoted. I was so happy for him. We exchanged names and talked throughout the day in this chat. And before the day ended, Dante asked for my number. I absolutely gave it to him because we were having a good conversation and I knew he wanted it. I was just waiting for him to ask. Even then, it wasn't much of a spark at first. We didn't hit it off. You know, it was still no butterflies and pink skies. It was none of that at this point. So I politely closed the door on the idea of us. I let Dante know that, hey, I enjoyed talking with you and let's just leave it here because we don't seem to have much of a connection. I forgot what I said, but it was polite and kind. He was like, okay. He was cool with it. Now, somewhere along the way, Dante called me me. It wasn't like immediately after that, but somewhere along the way, he called me one night and I just happened to be up working. This was during the time that I was working my 9 to 5 in the daytime, coming home in the evenings with my family, and then my nights and my weekends, I really devoted to the Smoking Prophet. And I was up late and he called. We ended up talking on the phone for hours. It wasn't a big deal for me. I talked to him and that was that. I think the next week or maybe the week after that, Dante called me again and we talked for hours, got off the phone, and then it happened again. And at some point, it happened again and more after that. And those late night conversations ended up turning into something deeper, something that I didn't expect. Somewhere along the way, Dante asked me out on a date. He picked a very special place for our first outing together, which was super thoughtful and nice. And no, I'm not sharing it with you because everything doesn't need to be shared online. Okay. I can share parts of my life. I don't have to share every little thing and every little detail. But we started hanging out from there and started having serious conversations about our future and what we wanted. And I mean, like the first week, we're having super serious conversations about like marriage, children. We're having very serious conversations to see where we were and where we wanted to go in the future as individuals so that we could think about how our lives would fuse together if we did decide to pursue a serious relationship. But even then, I wasn't like super sold, and neither was he. At one point, we mutually decided to stop entertaining the idea of us. We had talked about something, and it seemed that our lives and what we wanted wouldn't fuse together very well. So we were just like, you know what? It was nice talking to you. It's nice talking to you too. And it's kind of like a job when you say goodbye, wishing you the best luck on your future endeavors. Nah, it wasn't that pragmatic and, emotionalist. It was more than that. But we just mutually decided to say, hey, we'll just go the other way. But after that moment, we ended up coming back together. We were like magnets. We just kept coming back together. And something that we both discovered after we came back together is that we just hadn't communicated very well. The idea that was on the table that we were discussing, that we thought we had two different opinions on, we actually had the same mind. So we were good to go. But looking back then to now, like Dante, again, he wasn't my physical type. He wasn't the guy I thought I'd end up with. He wasn't the guy I thought I'd look at or even be attracted to. And he's attractive. He just wasn't my type. But he is one of the best decisions I've ever made. He's one of the best things that has ever happened to me. At the end of last year, he just went on a roll fixing things around our house. He unclogged a sink and found a battery in the pipe. Don't even ask me how that got there. I mean, have any of you ever found a battery in your pipe? These are the things that you deal with when you have a family and children. A faucet broke and he installed a brand new one. I noticed a soft spot on the floor, and the same day my husband was cutting the spot out of the floor, creating some type of brace or something, I don't even know, putting it in the floor and fixing it. It just amazing. On top of all of that, he paid off some taxes early, and then our heat stopped working. Dante made sure it was fixed within hours. We didn't even have to spend a whole day without warmth. I'm not sure what moment helped me pinpoint that Dante was someone that I could marry. And since we got married, there have just been so many moments that prove why this was one of the best choices I could have ever made. I mean, from the start, I knew he was a leader. I knew he was responsible. I knew that he cared for his family, that he had respect for women. I just appreciated so many things about him. But after we've gotten married, watching him pour into our family every day, watching him look ahead, plan for the future, and take care of us, it just reinforces that he loves us in every way. Not long ago, Dante had the opportunity to pay off his car. It came up unexpectedly. It was one of those moments where most might panic or scramble into action. I was honestly ready to spring into action. I mean, my husband and I have been married for several years now, but before that, I was taking care of everything alone. Now, before I could even start brainstorming, Dante just calmly interjected and told me his plan. He was like, I'm going to pay it off tomorrow. That stopped me in my tracks. I was like, well, why didn't you say something sooner? Turns out Dante, my husband, was quietly saving without fanfare, without fuss, for a moment like this. He wasn't telling me, hey, I'm doing this to get a pat on the back from me. He also wasn't walking around complaining like, I got to do this and I got to take care of this. He was just handling things. I didn't have to worry. I didn't have to stress. I didn't have to figure it out. Dante had it covered. For me, that moment wasn't just about money. It showed me his responsibility, his vision, that he's forward thinking, that he's thinking ahead. And that gives me this sense of security I didn't even realize I needed. Dante's presence helps me rest in my feminine nature. Someone asked me what inspired me to start gardening and growing my own food. Without hesitation, I said I got married. I thought about that conversation later and I was like, wow, I got married. And my marriage is drawing this nurturing side out of me. The crazy part is I almost didn't marry him. Let me tell you about that. So I told you that when we first started talking, I wasn't sold and neither was he. I also told you that at one point we decided to stop entertaining the idea of us, but then we just kept drawing and pulling back together to one another. So at some point I had a dream I felt like was a green light from God. In the dream, Dante was texting me. He said something in the text message that caught my attention. And when I woke up, I wanted to talk to him about it. So I reached out to him and I told him what I thought the dream meant. And in my heart that day, I decided, okay, I'm just going to rest assured that we'll just try and see what happens. Like, this relationship seems to be moving in a very serious way. And I'm scared, but I'm not going to let him know that. And I'm also just going to sit here and just see what happens. And that's what I did. But because of my fear, it was like I was taking Dante on an emotional roller coaster. I would be okay with us, and then I would not be okay with us. And so I had to tell him. I had to tell Dante that I was scared. Now, do you know how hard it is to admit the truth and admit that you're scared? Imagine admitting the truth, something that you have buried deep inside of you, not just to yourself, but saying it to someone else. And when it comes to love, that is scary because the person on the other side of that truth, the person sitting looking at you, they don't have to choose to stay. They can walk away. So I told Dante, I was like, I am scared of the seriousness of our relationship. This is terrifying me. I have been married once. I didn't even think that I would even get married again. I was not looking for anyone. I was not entertaining the idea. This kind of just crept in on me and I'm terrified. To my surprise, Dante didn't run away. He pulled right up. He reassured me that we would fight together for the future we could have. He reassured me like, no, let's just see what happens. Let's just choose to love each other without fear. And what does that mean? I'll tell you. Loving without fear meant that we were not going to let past hurts control our present or trick us out of the future that we could have. And Dante proved that. Every time I drew back, Dante moved closer. Like, fear is not going to rule or ruin us. And I got to give myself some credit too, because there would be moments still that I'd have to say, okay, you know what? I'm scared. And let me just let you know I'm scared. And he'd be like, all right, here we go. We're going to tackle this fear head on. Or there were other moments where Dante would realize I was doing something. He'd be like, hey, you look like you're moving with fear. Like, that doesn't look like you. That looks like fear is making your decisions right now. It was pretty cool. So what is my point in all of this? Don't let your type cause you to miss out on love and marriage, because you could be passing up on someone and something amazing all because they don't fit this ideal image you have in your head or this future you have in your mind. Sometimes the future that you have in your mind can trick you out of what you could be having at this moment. Sometimes you just got to say, Lord, let me just strip away ideas, outcomes, and visions that I have for my life that are holding me back in Jesus' name. Because sometimes that idea you have in your head is so impressed upon you that it'll stop you from even trying to experience another outcome that could bring deep meaning to you, that could bring deep fulfillment to you, that could be better than the thing you pictured and imagined. So let's wrap this thing up and bring it all together because I'm ready to get off of here. I wasn't supposed to say that out loud, but I did. I want you to think about this before I go. If you've been stuck focusing on your type, maybe it's time to let it go. Maybe it's time to start looking deeper at heart, at character. Maybe it's time to give someone who isn't your type an opportunity to see how they will show up for you. Remember, a filter can make anyone look good, but will life with them be good? Okay? Okay. I hope this episode gave you a fresh perspective on love and relationships. If it did, consider sharing it with someone who needs to hear it. All right, I'm Lola with The Smoking Prophet. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Until next time, have the most amazing life. Bye!
Spiritually, creatively, socially, spiritually, creatively, socially. Do life, do it better, do it better. Do life, do it better, do it better. The Smoking Prophet will inspire and equip you. The Smoking Prophet takes your skills and gifts and molds you. Do life, do it better, do it better.